Probably helps if I have a microphone in front of my face. Hey, everybody, good morning. Here is a song.
Zooming down the road, breaking all the rules with the reckless driving, acting like fools. But I'm on the lookout, I'm the law in town, gonna catch 'em all, gonna take 'em down. They try to deny it, make up silly tales, but their guilty faces, they can't conceal. Phone in their hands now, it's not a care in sight, but I'm coming for 'em, gonna make it right. Take your tango, use your turn. No more excuses, it's your big mistake. Take your tango, now it's your turn. You're gonna learn, you're gonna learn, you're gonna learn.
I'm having, again, fun with Suno AI. It is, it's just too much fun. I did find another website that does a similar thing, but not anywhere near as awesome as Suno is. And I absolutely spend way too much time playing with AI song generation. A number of people have shared with me that they are concerned for the future of the planet. Is Terminator real? Are these robots going to take over? Should be worried? Frankly, I think we have lots of reason to be worried, not just because of AI, just because everything's upside down lately. But AI music, I don't think that's something that's going to keep people up at night. I do understand artists may not like it, but I've created songs that I listen to, and I don't listen to music otherwise. I'm too busy with podcasts. Anyway, good morning to Paul, who says, hi, Sean. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Stephen Bell. Good morning, Rusty Shackelford. And, of course, good morning to Northern Pike. Y'all watching on what are we on? We're on YouTube, and I'm just looking over because I'm not seeing any comments coming through on TikTok yet. But TikTok, when you get to it, we'll say hi to you too. This is, what is it? It's the 1st of May, isn't it? All day today, 1st of May. We're really doing this spring thing, right? Is it actually nice outside? It was not bad when I got in, but it is certainly not hot. Mind you, that makes it comfortable. When people last year asked me about how I got my skin to glow so wonderfully, and in the summer, this room is going to be hot. That's because there's like no air circulation. It's a thing. Let's see here. We got some questions coming in. Oddly enough, donuts is something I talk about a lot when it comes to driving, but not about eating. I'm not a big donut fan. I know that really causes confusion. Police officer, not a donut fan. Nah, I'm not. And I don't think any of us are. It's just one of those stereotypes. I will say chicken wings, if we're talking chicken wings, you got me. I'm down for chicken wings. No chocolate dip chicken wings. That would just be gross. Actually, Mexico, you could get there's Mexican chicken that is chocolate, right? Chocolate-ish chicken, spicy a little bit. Anyway, now we're talking about food. And I must say that yesterday I missed everybody, and there was food involved with my not being on screen. I did have a sandwich that was so amazing. I talked about it for at least 6 hours after I consumed it. Now, if you are watching, you are probably on, well, the channel you're watching. But you have options? These options up here, we are currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and of course X, which used to be called Twitter. And something that you may not realize is that Twitter can actually, who's tweeting me here? Twitter can actually send questions in. And if you send a question from the magical channel, you will actually be able to join us and see it online. And the reason I'm staring at my phone right now is because I will engage so that you can see how it works. I know it should be obvious, but I want to make sure everybody knows. You think I could find it? Let's see here. Traffic Services. That's our account on the X. You hit that live button, open live video. Hey, it's me. Now, if you go into the actual chat by clicking on it, you'll get a window, and you can say, it says live chat. It's not a comment, it's a live chat. And you go, hello, world. Who knows the reference to hello, world? If you do, you're awesome. You're a geek like me. But once you get that statement in, we click it. The question comes up on screen. Look at that. It's amazing. Hello, world. I love it. Okay. John Curran, see you there. I need to turn off the audio on this. I don't actually need to watch myself. It's kind of weird to watch oneself. Okay. I've got a question here. Okay, before we get into too many other things, I want to remind everybody that we are, in fact, a podcasty live stream. And I mean that because after the live stream is complete, we will download it. I say we a lot. It's really just me. I do everything here. I download it and I put it up into the cloud, into the magical podcasting universe where it gets broadcast through RSS feeds into Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, Spotify. It's even available in Spotify as a video. I don't think anywhere else picks it up as a video, but you can synchronize it with your favorite device and listen to it while you drive without burning data and, of course, breaking the law. And that's, considering we are a traffic safety-centric show, we don't want you to break the law. Did you know it's a $615 ticket for doing that? If you were to listen to or if you were to watch a video, it's distracted driving. It falls under distracted driving. It has three categories, essentially. You have handheld communication device, handheld entertainment device, screen visible to driver. If it's an entertainment or screen that you're not supposed to be watching, even if it's not your phone, even if it's your passenger showing you their Instagram feed, that is a $615 fine. Plus suspension, plus demerits. Like, not something you'd want to deal with. Before we get into too much of anything else, and I do have a great story for you today. This is a show that I'm excited. Well, it's a story I'm excited to share, and I think it's going to change the way I start shows going forward, because I think telling you stories about tickets that are being written on the street, interactions with police, I think this is really important. I think you're going to enjoy them, but we'll do that in just a second. First, I'm going to tell you that Vision Zero enforcement team are members of the service that do something a little different. They're not going to your regular radio call. They are out there focused on traffic safety, changing driver behavior. I call it education through enforcement, and that means that they're giving tickets out, not warnings, not little waves saying, "Hey, do you mind?" No, they're actually pulling you over and holding you accountable for the choices you make when you're on the road. They are looking specifically focused on and looking for those who choose to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, drive impaired, people who are putting others' lives at risk. We know that these behaviors lead to serious injury and death on our roads. That's why they're out there making that positive change. And I'm going to tell you a story because it involves VZET. Okay, but first, today they are focused on these efforts in 11 Division and 41 Division. We're talking about the Junction, Weston, High Park, Ronsonsvales, which is like Roncy. I like how it sounds. Roncy, yeah. Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, Birchcliff, Cliffside. These are neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. And we announce it every single day. Why? Well, because we want the neighborhoods that people live in that care about safety, which is pretty much everybody in every neighborhood. They want to know that we're there. So we announce it. And if you'd like to follow along, you can go to TrafficCop.ca and you can click on links. Actually, I've got a lot of information there. Information about e-bikes, driver's licenses, everything under the sun, children's child car safety restraints, everything. But of course, all our social media is there, so you can get us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for that information. Okay, let's get into a story. And the story is this. Electric bicycle. Is it a motor vehicle or is it an e-bike? Does it require license ownership and insurance? Are you allowed to do it without a license? There's a lot of confusion. Now, I have some information on TrafficCop.ca, links to government websites that explain a lot of it. And it would be really in your best interest to know before you go so you don't get charged for stuff. And it makes me think I have to make a whole video on this. But anyway, I've done lots of videos on this, but I think I need to do another one. So here's the scene. Vision Zero enforcement officer who's driving along comes across a bicycle, something that appears to be a bicycle. And it's doing a little bit faster than it should. And I mean like 62 kilometers an hour, roughly. I think it was 62. It was a brief phone call. 62 kilometers an hour. Is that an e-bike? Let's look at the law. 32 kilometer an hour maximum speed, assisted on a flat surface. Or is it unassisted? It doesn't matter. Because in this case, it was unassisted. It was traveling 62 kilometers an hour. And it was cutting through traffic. It was doing all sorts of things. It was driving carelessly or being ridden carelessly. They were pulled over eventually. And the rider was unable to provide license ownership and insurance. Why? Because it's an e-bike, right? But it's not. You see, if that e-bike or that thing you think is an e-bike is capable of doing more than 32 kilometers an hour, has a motor more than 500 watts in power, is over 120 kilos in weight, it's a motor vehicle, in this case, a motorcycle. Needs a motorcycle license to operate. needs insurance, needs a license plate, registration, the whole business. So they got a bunch of tickets. They got charged. Let's see what they got charged for. They got we got speeding, careless driving, no permit, no insurance card, no license, no plates, improper helmet, and the owner is eligible for allowing the vehicle to be on the road without insurance. That's a whole lot of charges. In fact, specifically the charge for no insurance carries a $5,000 to $25,000 fine. Yeah, and up to 6 months in jail. Good morning. Good morning. Sergeant, are you joining?
I am.
Oh, fantastic. Sergeant Campbell is joining. Let me put the microphone. Let's wait. We'll get the microphone up. I was just talking about the fact that someone got stopped on an e-bike today. An e-bike that wasn't an e-bike. An e-bike that was in fact a motorcycle. And I think it's fantastic. I was just sharing the news because I think a lot of people are confused. Otherwise, it would probably not happen as much.
You know what? I think the exemption made for e-bikes is a fantastic thing. I think it's needed around here, but as long as it meet the criteria, it keeps it safe for all road users, including themselves. So
For sure.
If something is outside, and I'm assuming, because we had a conversation earlier that it was overpowered, overspeed, didn't meet the criteria, it's now a motorcycle, and the fines for that.
So on the sticker, because I got pictures of it from the road. On the sticker, it said 750 watt. That's which is above the permitted, unless it's a utility. If it's a cargo e-bike, it's allowed to be up to 1,000 watts because it's carrying cargo. But I checked out a video. A reviewer has this thing going 40 miles per hour. 40 miles per hour, and he was able to dial it up just by pressing a couple of keyboard combinations on its little computer up to 2,300 watts of power.
Wow.
A little bit more than the 500 allowed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it looks like a really cool tool. Like, if it was legal, I'd buy one because that's right up my alley. I like motorcycles. I like e-bikes. I have an e-bike. My e-bike helps me go up hills. It doesn't just take off. In fact, I'm a big boy, and I make electric motors cry. Yeah. I do. It's just they don't just. I see people. I'm jealous of people who can just zip off from a stoplight on an e-bike. It's not me.
Well, maybe if you had a modified one, weren't lawful, and were willing to risk the no insurance, the $5,000 to $25,000, all the other tickets that go along with it, maybe you'd be able to zip off.
Zip off, I would. But here's the thing. I have a motorcycle. If I really want to do that, I'm going to have the thing with proper power that takes fuel, or you can even get a Harley that has electric batteries. Yep. You can actually go somewhere and do something and do it lawfully, safely, with the appropriate coverages and do it right. Why do it half rear-ended?
Lots of people do.
They do.
They do.
We've got some comments here. We've got some questions here. This one, I'm sure, is related to what happened recently on the 401, and they want to know what the protocol is for police chases, for motor vehicle chases with police. And this one's interesting because there's policies, and obviously, but here's the easiest way to answer that, I think, and of course, I look forward to what you have to say, but it is always with the interest of public safety in mind. We have to always take that, the danger to the public when engaging in a pursuit.
So... And I don't know any of the back-end circumstances of this. And as I know, because I've been involved in a few chases before, things happen very, very, very quickly. And you have to make decisions very, very, very quickly. I don't know the need to apprehend right away, but as soon as somebody goes on to the wrong way on a highway, even without a police chase, we consider that a priority one potentially a life-threatening event that would occur. And our policy here, when we have wrong-way drivers on our highways, on our controlled access highways, is to stop the vehicle. And if that means using force to stop that vehicle, then the risk to everybody else is reduced. So you have to take the risk versus the reward. Once you're following a vehicle and it goes on the wrong way on the highway, do you continue to follow? You now have a vehicle that has flashing headlights, flashing emergency lights, has a siren. Would you be doing more good by following and alerting drivers oncoming that there is this person who has chosen to drive on the wrong way and put everybody at risk? Do you? Don't you? You have to decide right then and there. And I can't do that because I wasn't there. Neither were you. But
Right.
I'm sure there's going to be an awful lot of people looking into it to try and decide.
You make a very, very good point in that, if this person took off with no other police involvement, they just took off the wrong way down the highway. How would anyone know until you made impact? This is why it's so important when you see lights and sirens. This is the slow down, move over thing. You need to start taking action and not assume that you know what's about to be up in front. You can't assume it's a vehicle stop. It might be that we're shutting down the entire highway. You need to be looking off into the distance and paying attention and adjusting to your speed as immediately. Like not hammer the brakes, but be aware. Very good point. Okay, we have more questions about stuff and things. And someone asked. I started looking for bicycle for pictures of cargo e-bikes because someone said, "What's a cargo e-bike?" Well, let's just deal with this right now. Since I saw it, I flagged it, and I'm already talking about it. So, what do you mean when you talk about cargo e-bikes? Okay, let me put it on screen. Can I put it on screen? There we go. So a cargo e-bike is one that is designed to carry cargo. And we're seeing Federal Express deal with them. This one looks like a personal cargo e-bike, but there are commercial cargo e-bikes that are quite intense. But that is what a cargo e-bike is. And that one has different regulatory or permissible things. And it actually is part of a pilot. It's not a permanent change in law.
That's right. That's right. And best used for downtown zone where it's easily able to be parked, easily able to maneuver, lower risk than operating a motor vehicle in highly congested zones. So it's a good thing.
You get
It really
exercise, low cost of entry, good for the environment. Like there's a lot of positives. I'm the first one to acknowledge that bicycles are a great way to get around. And I was chastised. I was complained about. Somebody had a problem with. At one point, I said that people ride bicycles primarily for exercise, and someone said, "No, you're not acknowledging that it's a mode of transportation." Okay, it is a mode of transportation. I totally get it. My answer was very focused on somebody who is doing bad things. But anyway, it is a great way to get around, and I've done it and I chose to buy a bicycle instead of buy a car when I was 16 because I was into riding.
Wow.
I know, crazy, right?
That I don't know how anybody could do that.
Well, and where I lived was not a very bus-friendly place, but it was much cheaper.
I started driving as soon as I could.
Me too, but I didn't. In truth, I took the bicycle at 15 instead, with the condition that I wouldn't have any money to buy a car when I was 16. Anyway, we talked about this. I want to get into more stuff and things. Donuts. I talked about it right off the bat. But
Donuts?
Are you a fan of donuts?
Depends what kind.
Favorite donut?
Apple fritter, I think.
Oh.
Blueberry fritter, not too bad.
I was a little disappointed. They brought back the blueberry fritter. I did try it, and I was thoroughly disappointed. I had memories and thoughts that it was going to be fantastic. I prefer the apple fritter between the two.
Yep.
But I'm not a fan of regular donuts. I do like one kind overall, and it's Krispy Kreme, and it's the raspberry filled is my favorite. And that's just my thing. Let's see here. Morning. Too tired to drive. Ticket amount, tow car, driver taken to go to sleep, to station to go to sleep. So if someone's too tired, this is one of those things that's very interesting. Is it a form of impairment, fatigue? Yeah, but it's not impairment for the purposes of charges.
Under the criminal code, it has to be drugs or alcohol.
Right.
So is it careless? Absolutely. If you are tired and you're driving and you fall asleep and cause a collision, is it dangerous? Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
You chose to do it. So it is dangerous. There's nothing wrong with pulling over to a safe location, having a bit of snooze. You know you and you know your body, so
I've done it. A Walmart in the States is big on letting people like camp there with RVs, like not camp, set up the chairs, but stop and sleep.
Yep, spend the night.
And I'm sure that would apply to cars too. If you were, but you'd need to be somewhere that I would want to be somewhere safe, well lit, not in a dark place, not at the side of the road on a highway where you're not seen. These are not safe places. But make steps. I mean, you got to be smart about it. And taking, if you were doing long cross country stuff, stopping and finding a motel is way better than crashing and not making it to your destination at all.
I have noticed, and I've traveled Ontario a lot, Quebec a lot, the East Coast somewhat. Quebec highways are fantastic for having rest areas.
Nice.
They're great. They're well lit. They have good facilities in there. Ontario doesn't do such a good job on that. Their rest facilities are everywhere, or scenic lookout points, or just areas to stop and relax and take a breath, take a walk. We in Ontario need to do better than that.
On Monday, we had a guest, a senior sergeant from Victoria Police in Australia. That's Chris Hayes, who is here, and he's now since flown off to go to the States. But he made mention of the fact that when there's opportunities to get out and have takeout food, we were talking about eating while driving, and the conversation was, I'd rather get out and go eat in the restaurant, relax, stretch your legs. And he says, you know what, fatigue really sets in when you don't move. Getting out and being physical helps be more awake and get everything, the juices flowing, I guess. And it makes a lot of sense. Not taking advantage of rest stops, taking a bathroom break, getting some food, water, coffee, what have you, just moving for a few minutes, changing it up allows you to be more alert.
Yep, absolutely.
I like that. Officer, anything new about left lane campers? New? They still exist. But
Still don't like them.
Still don't like them. But there is the discussion, and I always get into it, about a left lane camper who's doing the speed limit, which is still so. There's two things. There's the speed limit is a speed limit is a speed limit on any road. If it's 100 kilometers an hour, all lanes are 100 kilometers an hour technically. But we know that there's people who are going to be going faster, and some that are legally allowed to, like police. So if you're not actively passing, stay to the right.
Yep.
That's it. Doesn't matter. There should be nobody on your bumper passing you or honking at you to get out of the way if you're doing the legal limit. But we know they exist, and I know that happens. So instead of causing a situation where that bozo has to go and make a right, chooses to, no one has to pass, chooses to go around you to the right and make an unsafe maneuver, you could simply contribute to making the roads safer by just staying to the right.
Now, there is a charge in the Highway Traffic Act for failing to facilitate passing. So if you're actively engaged in an activity that doesn't allow somebody to pass, it may be appropriate. And there's certain criteria for that charge, and all of it would have to match it. But it's one that you must think about, be aware of your surroundings, and move over. Because you know what? If I'm driving behind you in the police car, and you don't always know that it's a police car that I'm driving in.
True.
I know the criteria, and you may be meeting me, and I'll be giving you a ticket for it.
It's even stunt driving. It qualifies for stunt driving if you actively prevent someone from passing. So someone's trying to pass you, hammer the gas so they can't get past you, and now you've got someone, like, you're creating an incredibly unsafe environment, so much so that that's stunt driving where you lose your license in your car and all sorts of great stuff. Something about stunt driving that they have in Australia is hoon laws. They call it hoon laws. It's stunt driving laws, but they will confiscate your car or crush your car depending on the activity and your inability to learn from your mistakes.
That would solve the problem.
Would it? Because some people don't even get they get tickets and charges and ridiculous insurance rates. They drive without licenses here. So would they just find another car, or would they just cry a lot?
They would have to find another car, and then could they register it? Could they put it on the road? Yeah.
Anyway, you cut it. Safety first. Streety says, if a bus is signaling a lane change and you are in the left lane that it's switching into, and there's a collision, who's at fault? I'm trying to
If the
end it
bus
live.
is signaling a lane change and you are in the lane that it is, okay. Question for you, are you behind it? So if you are behind it, then you must allow the bus to change lanes in front of you. You must yield to the bus. That is a law in Ontario.
If they're coming out of a bus lane, like a cutout, it's not just any lane, but it's servicing a stop.
Right. If you are beside the bus and you have nowhere to go, do you hammer on the brakes or do you drive? It's still the bus driver's responsibility to make that lane change safely. Anybody behind must leave a gap open for them and yield to them. But if you're beside the bus, then no, you just drive as normal, and the bus driver will make the lane change when it's safe to do so.
And if there is a collision, you can both be responsible for the parts you played. So you can be responsible and get a ticket for failing to yield if you were required to, and they can get a ticket for making an unsafe lane change and hitting you. So two things can be true at the same time. At the end of the day, courtesy and right of way are things you give, not take. So be kind. Bus drivers have a tough job. Not only do they get abuse from people on the bus on a regular basis. Speaking of which, did you see the bus driver get attacked by a passenger in the States?
No.
While the bus was moving, this guy breaks past the plastic barrier and starts punching the driver. They end up standing up. He's still seatbelted, but he's standing up, fighting while the bus is now on its own traveling. It eventually ran into a building.
Oh, that sounds really safe.
It was super intelligent by the guy who attacked the bus driver, I'll tell you. Yeah. But on the topic of be kind. The bus driver's got a tough job. And you're not getting anywhere really any faster by getting in front of the bus. Just, yeah. Okay, some good questions here. What do we got here? We got a whole bunch of flagged stuff. I can unflag this one. We got stuck at a red light that malfunctioned and stuck on four-way red. I was in the far left lane. It was 3 a.m. and blew the red after a few minutes. Recommendations for next time where I comply with HDA. So, Rusty, you said it's four-way flashing red means it's to be treated as a four-way stop.
Well, no, it said it's stuck on red. So
stuck on red? Stuck on four-way red.
I don't know if I've ever seen a situation, because most of the automated traffic signals have a default mode. If there's an error, and if it is not cycling, it could go to a flashing four-way red. That is the default mode to say, hey, there's a problem here, and everybody now has to stop. I don't know of a circumstance now with the modern signals now that it would be a full-on red for everybody.
That's weird. But if it is four on red, I would treat it as though it was a flashing red. I think that's reasonable. If it's in all directions, it's obviously malfunctioning.
Technically, you could get a ticket for it.
Technically. But I think you'd be able to articulate that to a reasonable officer right there if in fact what you saw was real. Like if you saw something that nobody else saw, I get you getting a ticket for it. But if it was legitimately what was happening, different than if it was green for somebody else. If it was green for the other side and you just said, I'm not waiting, that's different than, and granted it's stuck and it's just red for an hour and it's green for an hour the other way, I'm still saying that's you can't do. But if it's red everywhere, I'm thinking, and an officer could do what the officer does because they have that authority. I don't think an average officer would do that.
Well, I can't talk for everybody.
True.
Technically, it is wrong, but what you could do is make a right.
But it would be red the other way again. You have to go around the block. Oh, right.
Make a right.
Right U-turn, right U-turn, right U. That's a little bit.
Which, again, poses even more of a risk. Mm-hmm. As we know that people making rights and doing U-turns cause collisions, including one that killed a colleague of ours in the 90s. So.
Yeah, and that was also in part because people aren't expecting that car to come out of nowhere. And you're responsible when making a U-turn to make it safely. And unfortunately, sometimes the person who's moving like a bullet train through space and time doesn't see you, and then you're now meeting in the middle. It's bad news. But I've had driving instructors argue with me when I say it's an unsafe maneuver, and they say, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it's more. Turning in general is less safe than going straight. For instance, just statistically. Okay, you're at a red light turning right. The protected left turn arrow comes on. No cars turning from, and Apple user. I don't see the rest. Oh, here. Okay, no cars turning from. Can you make a right on a red with the protected left turn arrow under any circumstances?
Yes, you can make a right turn on red.
If it's safe to do so.
Only when it's safe to do so. If you have oncoming vehicles that have an advanced left turn green signal, they are the only ones allowed to enter and occupy the intersection. They have right of way over everybody in there. But if there is nobody opposing you and coming that direction and you can make the right on red safely, you can do so. Make sure you turn into your specified lane.
The appropriate lane. So if you're making a left, you're to go to the leftmost lane when you enter that roadway. When you are on the right turn on red, you're going from curb lane to curb lane. Or if there's multiple right turn lanes, which is rare but occurs, then you have to go to the one to the left of the right turn lane.
And even if there is two lanes to go into and the person making the left turn has a green arrow, they have the right of way in the intersection. No matter if you say they should turn into the correct lane and you should turn into the correct lane, and if that happens, there shouldn't be a collision. Even if a collision does occur, you would be held responsible for it because you have the ultimate responsibility not to enter the intersection until you can do it as
if the onus is on you, you must be able to complete your turn in safety. And obviously, if somebody else has the right of way because of a green light, you are in the wrong. And there's always going to be context, but not that situation is going to really be against you. Because like we said before, both people can get tickets for their part they played.
Yep. But you will be held to a higher level of responsibility because you're facing the red signal.
Absolutely. And of course, making sure that it's safe and it's not prohibited by any other signs.
Right.
Because so often we find people say, but it's okay because I stopped, or I didn't stop because it was safe. Like the right turn on red requires a couple of steps. Are electric bikes allowed on the road? So
Depends.
Depends. If it's an electric motorcycle, it's a licensed and insured and proper motor vehicle that's meeting all the requirements to be on the road, then yes, it's the same as a gas-powered motorcycle, just not gas. If it's an e-bike, it meets the requirements as an e-bike under the law. And at that point, it's treated as a bicycle, which is allowed on the road. If it's something that is meant for off-road or doesn't meet the requirements and it's not licensed for the road as a motorcycle and it's not permitted under the legislation that allows it to be considered a bicycle, then no, it's not. It's private property only. In your SOL, you can't be on the road.
And if you are,
then that's
lots of tickets.
Well, that's what happened to the young man this morning because he got charged, and I got the list. He got speeding, careless driving, permit, no insurance card, no license, no plates, improper helmet. And then he said he wasn't the owner, and with no paper and way of establishing that, mom and dad are probably getting the ticket for permitting a motor vehicle for being on the road for the insurance.
Wow.
And that remains to be seen, but that would be the next course of action. In any way, you got to know that when you're breaking the law and you're doing it in such a way that you're being dangerous and you're drawing attention to yourself by that dangerous activity, and we investigate and find out that you're in a vehicle that was never supposed to be there, you're going to get ticketed.
Lots.
Yeah. Okay. Am I allowed to ride my 32 kilometer an hour e-bike on the road? 32 kilometer maximum possible.
On a flat surface.
Yes. So
with the rider.
Yes. So if you have a bike that's modified, but you don't push the button to go faster, and it's capable of 60, but you only do 32, obviously we may not know looking at it that that's the situation. What if we were to ever see you go faster? Or if we pulled you over and we determined that because it has a bigger motor than you're allowed to have, or we happen to know that it's a Suron capable of 70 kilometers an hour or more, we don't need you to be doing more than 32 to charge you for having a bike that's not allowed to be there. Those Suron bikes and a number of bikes are advertising speeds of 40 kilometers an hour, 80 kilometers an hour or more. We know that, where we pay attention. And if we see it, we're just going to pull you over.
And any vehicle on the road, including bicycles, can be stopped and an inspection can be done for the mechanical fitness or the safety of the vehicle, which may include looking at the exemptions for the power of the engine.
A suspect has a deliberate accident in the back of a police car. Is there a ticket for that? I wonder if they mean that if someone is under arrest and decides to foul the back of a police car, is there a charge for that? Or is that just...
Is that what you're...
I don't know, because I don't know what kind of accident...
In the back of... Well...
Yeah, I'm assuming that's where...
Deliberate.
How do we know? I don't know. That's a sticky situation.
Could be kind of stinky too.
Stinky. Yeah, it's bad.
Is there a ticket for it? I don't think there's a ticket, but
they're going to be uncomfortable.
It depends.
That's just gross.
If anybody has seen the back of a police car, modern ones, there's no padding in the seats. Mm-hmm. The seats are removed actually, and there's a hard plastic,
hermetically sealed is the word.
Seat type structure that goes in there.
Not comfy.
And easily hosed out. So
yeah, we decontaminate and we move on with their day, and that person is going to be uncomfortable in their poopy pants. Let's see here. Can you make we talked about this already. How old to ride an e-bike? I am glad this is becoming the e-bike episode.
There you go. You started it out.
I did. It's my fault. No, actually, I quite like it. But the e-bike is it requires 16 years old. You'd be 16 years old to wear one. To ride one. Wearing it, you might have to be older. I don't know. Let's see here.
Yeah, 16 years old to operate on the roadway.
Private property is open.
Private property, any age one.
Okay, we said one Apple user says, "Police, my bad, officer. I'll keep it under the limit now." I'm assuming that was a comment in relation to an e-bike, but yeah, don't get caught is what, because if you go faster, you're going to get caught, or you might get caught.
Well, it's a clue for us that might be something to be up.
Yeah, and you show up on a radar just like you would as if you were a car, because radar works for people too.
Yep.
Julie says, "Good morning, guys. Good morning to you, Julie." Okay. Billy Wang wants to know, is it true that Highway 401 speed limit is going to change to 110 limit for July, but now is 100 is going to be 110 July for speed limit? Okay, so a little bit of repetitive there, making sure I read it right. It's 110 kilometers an hour once it changes in some areas. Wait until you see signage to dictate the change. Don't assume.
Yes. So currently there are a pilot project going on where there are sections of 400 series highways in Ontario that have already been changed to 110. For example, the 404 north of Davis Drive, all the way up until the end is 110. There's a section of Highway 417 in the Ottawa area, same thing. It's areas that are designated as structurally designed to be a bit more safer without the entrance or egress of on and off ramps, so that it can be statistically safer for everybody to do. It's a pilot project. They've run it for a while. They've determined that we're going to expand it a little bit more now to other areas. The problem is, and what I've experienced is, if the speed limit's 100 and everybody's doing 130, when you raise it up to 110, people are going to go 140.
Well, you see, we say that, and then the learned people who do studies say, no, that won't happen. We know this to be true. And then they find out that they're absolutely wrong, and absolutely people just go faster. If folks are completely ignoring the speed limit now, what on earth would influence a researcher to believe that they won't continue to break the law?
Right. If they see 30 over is the acceptable risk of them losing the license or not, well, they continue to do 30 over if the speed limit is raised. And just remember that 150 is the hard limit. Like that is...
You're stunt driving regardless of what the speed limit is.
Yes.
So if it's 110 and you do 40 over, bringing it to 150, thinking that you're okay because you need to do 50 over not to get stunt driving? Nuh-uh. Yep. No, if you're it's 150 anywhere, even including private property.
Did you just say nuh-uh?
Nuh-uh. Yeah, I'm trying to be woke. And hip and no, it doesn't work.
You're not succeeding.
No, it's a horrible attempt. Okay, let's see. But I am having fun, so that's all that really matters. Okay, scrolling back, so I got a whole bunch of stuff that I flagged, and there's one there for you. I can see. The first one is the OACP exam hard, and I cannot answer that question because the test that I took 20 years ago or whenever I took that one is not the same one that will be today. It's obviously going to have changed or may have changed.
I got to tell you that it is there to be passed. You can pass it.
It's passable.
It's passable. It's passable by everybody.
We passed it, or whatever was available then.
Right. You know what? Some may take a little more study. Some may take a little more practice.
Yes.
We want you to be thinking in a certain mindset, to use common sense and to use your reasoning to answer some of these questions. And that's what you have to do when you're out here. You have to use common sense and reasoning to see what is or isn't appropriate and how to act and how to react. And you've got to get your mindset thinking that way.
It's also about speed. I mean, when I took it, it was about getting through everything and not getting stuck and just hanging out, breaking down and saying, I can't figure out this multiplication question and then not finishing. It's about determining what you can and can't do. You have to finish everything you can in a certain amount of time, achieving the highest mark in the available time. So if you try a question and you can't get it, you move on to the next one. Maybe you come back, but if you just sit there and grind your gears, you don't finish the rest of the test, you fail. Like it's a part of it is mindset that way. Yeah. How do you prepare yourself? Well, I went out and bought grade 7 and 8 math books.
You should have got English books.
Yeah,
too.
I should have taken that. And then I went out and took tutoring or got tutoring. And I went to this Russian math lab, and this ex-KGB person told me the secret is to how to do this, and it really helped speed up the process of how quickly I got through the test, and of course spelling and grammar and all that stuff. You just refreshing your memory, having it be something you're conscious about. And then there's reasoning tests and spatial aptitude. Like, there's a ton of different stuff. But if you waste your time on something that you know is your weakness, you're going to lose out time to finish the whole thing. So getting help is a good way, and being prepared is the best thing to do to challenge whatever test you're doing. We got here, Josh, our unofficial producer, says, good morning. It snowed here in Edmonton during the night. That is not fun. We were talking about, is it a nice day today? Because it was not. I had windows that had moisture on them this morning.
Yep. Yeah. Very foggy this morning here in southern Ontario. But it is supposed to be a nice enough day that I'm going for a motorcycle ride after work.
Yeah, nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward
I won't
to...
be doing that in Edmonton, though.
No, with the snow. I am looking forward to sandal weather. I'm already ready for the halfway point. On a nice day, I'm wearing my closed-toed. I think are they called Chicago's, or I don't know what they're called. They have closed toe. But I'm looking forward to opening the toes to the air and going out. I love sandals for the summer. I was an anti-sandal guy. I never liked sandals. Now I appreciate them because they have cork, and what are they called? The cork ones. I don't know. Let's see here.
Birkenstock?
That's the one.
There
I
you
was
go.
so super anti-Birkenstock because in high school, I think it was just people.
Well,
who
it was a themed thing.
with socks, lumberjacks, wool socks, and those all. And I couldn't stand it. It just drove me bananas. I did not hang out with that camp of people who would wear socks with sandals.
Right.
Happy First Responders Day. That's from Rusty Shackelford. I didn't realize that was today. I've been seeing posts of that nature. I didn't realize it was today. I thought it was
Really?
like previous days. But thank you for that, and
you.
and to anyone watching who is a first responder. Now that I've been knowledgeable that it's in fact today, so happy First Responders
Same
Day.
to you.
I'm not really a first responder anymore. I'm like a second, third on email. I respond to emails now. I'm still a first responder.
I kind of am.
We're administrators now.
Yes.
But we in our heart, we're and okay. I take it back because you know what? I have gotten involved with so much stuff off duty. Like if it happens, I can't help myself. I'm in it. I'm a cop through and through. I'm always going to help. Even before I was a cop, I was the helper. So it's in our DNA. We want to help people, and we do that on the show. That's why we have the show. Can I tint my front and back windows? Or sorry, it was my back and front windows.
No, headlights.
Headlights. That's what I meant to say. I got discombobulated with I had reversed it. Anyway, we're talking about headlights and taillights.
I don't know who you are, but does it sound like a good idea? Like, does that seriously sound like a good idea? It's going to limit your ability to see. It's going to limit everybody else's ability to see you.
Josh answers. He says no.
Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. I just don't understand the want or desire to do that. Like nothing.
I can understand that it's on a show car that never sees the road. It can look cool. It can look like a car that is completely all monochromed out. And I got a friend in this. It's a friend on TikTok, and he's got a McLaren, and he says just tint it and then up the wattage of the lighting, and you'll be the same. You'll meet the grade. And I'm like, man. The reflectors are not working properly. If there's a failure with the light, there's so many things you're inviting for problems.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing is the best thing is you don't want someone driving into you and then having us looking for the clues when we come to do the investigation and find out that you may have contributed to that rear ending where you were the person who was rear-ended a lot more than we originally thought.
So there can be there's a separate charge for putting a coating over the lens of the front headlights. Along with it not being clearly discernible. So the rear taillights, the wording in it is clearly discernible. If you're not seeing what the manufacturer put out, it's not clearly discernible.
You got a question that we answered before, and I'm not going to answer it again because we talked about it in great detail. Why would the cop chase a guy into the wrong way of the road? Other than that's someone putting lives at risk. So we're trying to help out, but there's a good detailed answer earlier in the show. Go to YouTube and watch it again afterwards because we already talked about it. But I wanted to address it because it's an important conversation.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Jay Melly says that the OACP is mostly spelling and vocabulary related to policing. There's a section for police scenarios. Okay, so that's new. That's actually changed. I don't think police scenarios were in the original OACP. I don't remember it. Maybe there was a decision about pulling somebody over. Was that in there? About there was a collision and you had to get it in the right order? Determine an outcome?
I think that was to write a report or... Yeah,
I don't remember. It's a long time ago.
Even more longer. Longer for me.
Yes, this is true. Can I drive my wheelchair on a highway with right lights and license plates with insurance? Your wheelchair? So a highway, you must understand, first of all, is any road. Now, a wheelchair, if it's truly a wheelchair, is a pedestrian. Your definition of you is a pedestrian.
If it is actually a wheelchair and used for such purpose,
yes.
and you require it. Not just a funky electric-powered scooter that you're driving on the road.
True. So mobility scooters, you're not a pedestrian, you're riding a vehicle. A true wheelchair, which is easily defined as one.
Even an electrically powered one.
Right. You're a pedestrian for the purposes of reports and so on. So do you need license plates? No. Do you need the right lights? No. But there are people who go to great lengths to make sure they're visible because pedestrians get hit, whether they got wheels or they're walking, and it's a major concern for safety. So being visible is good. I've seen some really cool wheelchairs, and I know you're going, like, cool wheelchairs, what are you talking about? I've dealt with mobility stuff. I've researched a lot of mobility stuff because I have people in my life that need assistance with mobility devices. And there is an issue with being in a seated position and talking to people who are not seated. It is a major issue to be looking up to people. People don't treat you the same way. And I have seen the coolest wheelchairs. There's ones it's like an elevator lift. It's like a scissor lift. It rises the seated person to a somewhat standing height. And it really changes perspective. Not only can they get stuff from counters and whatnot, some of them will actually, depending on the physical situation of the individual, can stand them up and set them down, or just raise it like a scissor lift. Either way, those are very cool. I don't know why I'm on this right now because it's got nothing to do with being on the.
I know.
Yeah,
I was just wondering where you're.
But it's just cool wheelchairs. There's a lot of technology. There's ones that can do stairs. Really cool stuff. Anyway.
So to answer your question, if it is a true wheelchair, you are classified as a pedestrian. You don't require anything, but it is best practice to light it, put reflectors on it, and make yourself be seen.
And highway suggests that you're talking about the expressway, as opposed to the truth is a highway is any road on Ontario.
Right.
But a controlled access highway is what you would refer to as an expressway, like the Highway 401, for instance. And pedestrians are not allowed. And you are a pedestrian on an electric wheelchair, so you would not be allowed on a controlled access highway.
Right. Along with other vehicles. There are certain vehicles that would...
Bicycle cannot be.
Even mopeds and stuff like that cannot
I think
be.
it used to be under 50 cc.
I don't think it's CCs. I think it's...
Speed capability now. So in what is this? Or just make speeders 1,000% at fault, even if one is doing the speed limit in the left lane. I believe that should be the case anyway. If a speeder, if we can determine the speed of a vehicle played into the collision that occurs, I think speeders should always be responsible.
Yes.
Speeding is not okay. We've kind of, the public and those who choose to speed make it socially acceptable when talking to other people who like to speed, but it's not okay. And oddly enough, especially in major scenes, we see that speedometers lock out. When the collision occurs, they leave the needle exactly at the speed you were going. The computer, your automobile is so much more than an automobile. It is a computer. It stores everything, and if need be, we get that information. Were you wearing a seatbelt with the lights on? I wonder if we can tell what music you were listening to.
I bet you could.
I bet you we could too. So at the end of the day, what everyone gets held responsible for their part to play. Simple as that. Okay, there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it is. It was going to be so good. Anyway, it's gone. Good morning, Mr. Shapiro and friend from
you
user.
Got a friend?
Yeah, I know it's weird to think that you're it. Are you allowed to drive a tractor on the highway? All of the information is valid.
So, once again,
implement of husbandry.
If it's an implement of husbandry and you're not just using it to go get your groceries, and you're actually using it for farming, then yes, you're required to have lights and you're required to have a slow-moving vehicle sign. You're required to stay to the far right of the roadway.
And it's highway. We're not talking about the 401.
And it is highway, not controlled access highway.
Right.
And there are speed limit restrictions on
the
secondary roads, I believe. So,
and people often see tractors and lawn care that are utilized at the side of the road. Those are trailered to those locations, and sometimes I even see them living in those locations. Like they get parked there and they just travel up the grassy areas because it's such a pain to get them to and fro.
Right. So, road building equipment is another exemption as well that can be operated on the highway. As long as it's being done by a company under contract to the
government,
government that has jurisdiction over that specific roadway. Mm-hmm. I see an awful lot of snowplow operators and stuff like that driving from one site to the other site to the other site. No, absolutely cannot be done.
I see a lot of bobcats and doing that, and
because it's expensive to get them floated from one place to another place. So
totally,
I'll take the chance and run it. It could be a very expensive chance.
Tad wants to know, if hired with TPS, how long would you need to be on the road before applying to do the traffic service to the traffic unit? So oddly enough, it depends.
Yep. Depends on the class.
We have
Depends
had
on we need people.
Well, that's it. So if we are short-staffed and we have in the past taken new recruits straight here. Now, there are issues with taking people straight. We then train them here and then we send them to a division for training because they need to have training in all aspects.
Right. General policing training is important. You can come here and start out, but getting the general constable training and then coming back again will make you an excellent police officer. It's a fun place to work, and traffic stuff is kind of fun.
It is a specialty, and I think it used to certainly get a bad reputation of not being real police because you're just dealing with cars. People don't realize that, and obviously, if you're asking this, you have an interest in it already, which means I'm preaching to the choir. But for everyone else who may not realize this, we lose in terms of lives lost on the road as many on average as we do to homicide. So traffic collisions cause more death and destruction at whole than all violent crime combined. Now, recent years that's been used to be higher motor vehicles than to crime, and now we're either equal or just slightly more. But it's neck and neck. It's not a race we're trying to win, but it is something that you have to realize that people involved with motor vehicle collisions are people very often who would have no other ties to anything. Oddly enough, sometimes people who are involved with other types of crime do find themselves getting involved with things. Not always, but very often people in the criminal element tend to be involved with things that put their lives at risk.
Before you go on,
you got to go?
I must depart.
It was lovely having you
I have an 11
here.
o'clock meeting I have to attend to, so...
Oh, well, I'm going to talk about employment since we're on that topic. I'm going to share and see what's going on the careers page. I have a guest coming here to film a podcast, so I will be unable to continue after he arrives. I mean, we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours. We're not going to do that because we've got stuff and things to do. But yeah, if you've tuned in before, you're probably aware that I can at times continue to answer questions until I can't. Like I've done 2.5 hours of this, and it's a long time. Let's quickly go into the magic of the employment unit. Yes, if you go to www.tps.ca/careers, you too can peruse this magical site where smiley people greet you on your entry. And then you can have a look at the different headings, which depend on what you want to be hired for. Police constable, obviously, if you click that, you will see, everything you want to know, as well as a big old button that says apply now. You can find out what the requirements are and what the expectations are, what kind of work role, what kind of pay you're going to get, what kind of benefits. All of it is there. You also see some smiling faces of recruiters who can answer all your questions. But that is what most people come here to look at. I like to remind people that special constable is a magical role. I was a special constable when I started. We have jobs like parking enforcement officer, those people who don't get nearly enough credit, and they are the people who keep the city moving. Communications operator, one of the reasons I wasn't able to go live tomorrow was because I went to go visit the communications center. I went to go see dispatchers at work, and it was cool. I hadn't been there for many years, and it was nice to see friends and catch up. But it was all because we wanted to have a discussion about safety on the road, and they do amazing work. And again, unsung heroes. Nobody recognizes, or very few people recognize, the amount of work and how integral they are to making sure that we can do what we do as police officers. We wouldn't be able to do it without them. Now, auxiliaries of volunteer and, of course, civilian roles is my favorite heading to hop under, because if you are interested in having a great career with an organization that becomes more than just a job, it's a family, well, that's a police service. I can't say it's just the Toronto Police Service. I know many, many agencies are just like us, awesome in every way. I still think we're the best. But hey, listen, whatever. We have 10 jobs right now that if you aren't interested in applying for a role as a police officer, maybe something here would be appropriate for you, or maybe it would be appropriate for someone you know and care about and want them to have awesomeness in their life. Intermediate technical analyst, audio visual. I have absolutely no idea what that means, but if you click on that, you'll get a description. It'll tell you how much. Well, let's click on it. Intermediate technical analyst, audio video, 91 to 105 and change, 35-hour weeks, and all the details of what you need to know are right there. This is good. These are good things to know. How do I get back? Here we go. Financial planner. Didn't know we had those. Cool. General counsel. You a lawyer? A lawyer. You can come work for us. equity, inclusion, and human rights curriculum specialist on a 1-year contract, benefit coordinator, special constable. Hey, that's what I used to do when it was called a court officer. Fantastic job, fantastic people. Shout out to court officers and special constables. What's up? And then we've got the YIPPY program. That's the Youth in Policing Initiative after school fall program. They also have a summer program. Depending on where you live, you might qualify for this as a young person coming in to find out stuff and things about police things and get paid for it. Communications operator, those magical people I just spoke about. It's a tough job. Are you up for it? I think you can do it. I think you should check it out. Rewarding career. Intermediate technical analyst. Yes, you can take my my help desk calls because I do call often. Lots of technology in this office, and often I need help making sure it works properly. They're the magical people. Also, don't get enough respect or kudos. So thank you for all that you do. And if you are in the tech field and you want to come work for an amazing organization, hey, what are you waiting for? Go in and apply before the application closes, because these go open and close. Every day is a different thing. It's like a box of chocolates. It's like a box of chocolates. That's not at all what he sounds like. And I can't do justice. I haven't seen Forrest Gump in long enough, and many people don't even know what I'm talking about when I say Forrest Gump, but I'm moving on. Developer digital team. Ooh, it's an hourly wage. That's a pretty big, check it out. This could be your ticket to the best career of your life. The best job? It's a job. It's a career with many jobs, because you may come here as a developer in the digital team. You may get the policing bug. You may choose to become a police officer, and guess what? Your time and your pension it just transfers. And once you're a police officer, maybe you want to become a dog handler or something else that's magical in your service to the community. And all of this is serving the community. It's awesomeness. Awesomeness. It is. All right. What is this? Just gapped even more when Toronto police yesterday went 180. What's your opinion? What do you mean? I'm not familiar with this. Is it shocking that we do 180 sometimes? No? If bad guy's doing 180, we're going to have to go to 180, aren't we? Yeah, we are allowed to exceed the posted speed limit. If we weren't allowed to pursue vehicles, if we weren't allowed to speed, how would we get the bad guy? Like, it's enough that we have rules. We have lots of rules. And we have to always weigh public safety. But we can't let people just go away because they don't want to play by those rules. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. A dad joke from Michaela. Thank you very much. Why are catalytic converters mandatory on cars? That's a new question. And just to let you know, as we were approaching 11 o'clock, we are winding down. So new questions. If you haven't already answered or asked a question, I'm not taking new questions. I'm going to be scrolling back, looking for the old questions. I'm going to try and catch up for folks who have already been here waiting so patiently to get their questions answered. By the way, if you're watching and you don't already follow us, please do. We don't make money at this. I mean, I'm paid as a police officer, and I'm here to serve, but it really would be wonderful if you would be so kind as to share our content with others. It's all about helping people. Okay. Do I have to reduce speed limit in construction areas or red mark on the road? It makes sense, doesn't it? Like, it makes sense, like it's a good idea or something. If you see construction, you're not only at risk, but the people working in that construction zone are at risk, and fines are doubled in most construction zones. Do you have to? I'm going to say the yellow and red or whatever, other than the white and black signs, they're not regulated. You won't get a speeding ticket, but could you get a careless ticket? Could you get a ticket for putting someone's life at risk if you take their life? Is it possible that you might be going to through some hard times? Because we've had people killed at these sites. Not good. So logic says slow down. Let's see here. Someone making a left and someone making a right, who has the right of way? If you're crossing over live traffic, you do not have the right of way. So if you have to cross traffic, you don't have the right of way. If it's different if the lights are in different sequences. But if it's a green for you and and there's oncoming traffic, yeah. You have to ensure. The person making the right turn always has to ensure that they can proceed and complete their turn in safety. So it all depends. What do we got here? Good morning. Vern says, good morning, boys and girls. Good morning, Vern. In some cases, you can turn left on red lights. There is but one case where you can turn left on a red light, at least in Ontario. And that is when you are on a one-way street approaching another one-way street, and there is a red light being shown to you, and there is no sign prohibiting said turn. Only after you've come to a complete stop and ensured that it can be made in safety, you can then make a left turn on a red light. Only time. I was told by a driving instructor if you turn right on a red with the arrow, it's an automatic fail. This is from Apple user. I don't know why it would be an automatic fail. I mean, they could have their own policy. That may be their thing, but I'd like to see how that is actually translated to law. Driving instructors are not driving testers. They are two different things. Driving testers are not driving instructors. They could be both, but generally speaking, these are people who check boxes. I would like to know where your driving instructor got that information. Maybe it's driving testers that have said it, but I don't, again, there's no law against it. You just need to be safe. Now, here's one silly thing. You can get failed, which is insane, because I've had this conversation with a driving tester who's no longer a driving tester. They will fail you if you don't speed a certain amount over the speed limit. There's a window that if you're not aggressive enough to speed up to the moving traffic, even if that means you're going above the speed limit. So they're encouraging people to break the law and maybe get a ticket, but they want that. I don't understand. And I don't think it's right. And I think it's incorrect. Not just morally wrong. I think they're forcing you to do something that you shouldn't be doing. People have told me they've failed for not speeding, which is silly. Truly. Okay. What is this? How come my local won't go after these four-wheelers and dirt bikes doing wheelies past the precinct? I don't know where you are. You say precinct. I'm not aware of a Canadian police service that uses precinct, so I'm assuming you're in the States. But I couldn't answer why they're not. I would think people doing that kind of criminal activity, or even if you want to say it's not criminal, that violation or violating stuff and things, yeah, they absolutely should be, regardless, unless it's legal. If it's legal, then have at it. But it doesn't sound legal to me. All right. What do we got here? Okay. For not displaying a plate, what's the worst charge for that? You have a plate and you're not displaying it? It's $110 if it's obscured. It's $110 if you're not displaying two of them. If you're Ontario, a car, the only thing that's exempt for two plates is a motorcycle, which only needs one. Each violation is $100, $110. And if it's something where you're a serial violator, you could get a ticket that turns into, a summons where you have to go to court now to explain why you just can't get it through your thick head. And that could be a $500 conviction. If you're not insured, there's other things. But if you're insured and everything else is right, and you're just not displaying it because, you don't want to get caught for other nefarious things, we'll find the charges for each and every offense that you're responsible for. And if you keep doing it, they're going to start packing up. And there's no demerit points for it. Maybe there should be. Maybe we should be doing more. Anyway, Streety says, what if I'm going down a hill on a 32-kilometer-an-hour e-bike and it makes me go 50? Well, first of all, you do have things called brakes. So it's not actually making you go 50. You're going 50 because you're choosing not to engage those things that slow you down, which also make you potentially at higher risk at 50 for not being able to stop later because your brakes could not be functional at that speed. Your brakes aren't intended to go for high speed. Anyway, bicycle brakes not intended for motor vehicle speeds. Now, 50 could be very arguably a bicycle safe speed. In any case, we're not getting these tests for what the maximums are for flat level ground, not for hills. And there's no speed limit, or you can't get charged for speeding on a bicycle unless it's qualified as a motorcycle. So if you have an e-bike that's capable of doing 60 uphill and you go downhill, well, yeah, you can get a ticket for. Let me back up. If you've got a bike that's capable of going more than 32 kilometers an hour under power, well, then you're eligible for the speed that you're doing that's over the speed limit. If it's a 32 kilometer an hour e-bike and it qualifies for all the things under the legislation, then you can't get a charge for speeding. Can you lane split on a motorcycle? No, not in Ontario, not in Canada. There's very few places that permit it, like openly permit it, like Los Angeles or California allows it, but not in Canada. Okay. Same person says in Toronto. And I've answered it already. It's nowhere in Canada is it legal. Charge you for careless driving, charge you for stunt driving, charge you for criminal dangerous, all depending on what the observations of the officer are. Okay. We got Ronald who says, what's up? Okay. What if we saw a cop using a phone while driving? I saw a lot of times cops using phone while driving. Dougal. Is it Dougal? It's legal. Police officers or anyone operating a police, fire, or ambulance vehicle, they are permitted to legally use their handheld communication devices. They're allowed to use their radios, their computers, their phones. And where's my other phone? Oh, in my pocket. I have two phones. I have a work phone and I have a personal phone. If I'm using my work phone for work purposes, it's perfectly legitimate for me to doing it while I'm driving. If it's necessary, if I'm ordering pizza, that would be wrong. So if you think that the person's doing something wrong, report them because we can find out what they were doing. They'd have to articulate why they were doing what they were doing, but know that it is legal. They are permitted to do it. Yeah. Okay, scrolling back a lot. There's a lot of questions here. Boom, 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 boom. How far back? I hope everybody's having a great day. This is hump day, right? This is Wednesday. So that means that we're almost at Friday, sort of. No show tomorrow, by the way. I'm off-site for another meeting, but we will be back here for Friday, I believe. We'll see. If Friday, I've got a podcast that we're filming, so I expect to be in the office on Friday to do another show. Do cops pull you over for squealing brakes? I see lots of white work vans that need new brakes. If we were to see a vehicle that doesn't look like it's safe for the road and squealing brakes is an indicator that your brakes are not necessarily capable of stopping your vehicle or are going to be wearing out soon, we might come and inspect your vehicle. We don't usually look for brake pads. Those squealers usually kick in when you're low on brake pad to give you an indication that you should have them changed. But it's not against the law to have that. We just might be like, hey, if yours doesn't sound really healthy. Okay, what is this? Herms726 says, hey, I have over $6,000 in tickets and haven't paid for them in a year in New York State. You seem to have won the prize. I don't know what to tell you. If you're a New York State license, I don't know if they arrest you for it. In some states they do. In Canada, if you've got tickets in the States, no big deal. But if you're a Canadian who has tickets in the States, you may not be able to renew your license. Can you guys detect radar detectors? Yes, with and without equipment. So we don't use equipment here because we don't need equipment here because people who have radar detectors slow down when we activate them. Oddly enough, we don't actually use radar very much. We have radar, but we don't use it very much. Radar detectors tend to get triggered by all sorts of things like bliss. They're fairly useless these days. But even if we don't have a detector, we can look and detect. And then we have search and seizure authority to search your vehicle, dismantle it, and take it. We seize the vehicle or seize the device, and we also charge you, and you get the ticket, which is why we charge you. Seize you, yeah. Anyway, it's lots of fun. What is this? You drink, you drive, you lose all the time. Stephen Bell, you couldn't be more right. Drive sober. That doesn't mean be the least drunk person to drive. It means don't drink alcohol or consume drugs when you're getting behind the wheel of a vehicle of any kind. All right. What are the restrictions on modifications on cars in terms of sound and fast? How sound, how fast, and body kits? Punctuation. Helps me. So sound, you can't make unnecessary noise. So if you're making fart can sounds out of a cheapy, exhaust system, you're going to get pulled over, fine of $110. Improper muffler could be $110. No exhaust would be $110. Like it just adds up. Body kits, as long as the overall width of the vehicle is not over the maximum permitted, it's not a problem. It has to be safe. Can't make contact with wheels or tires or stuff and things. But that's pretty much it. Maximum speed, you don't speed. Whether your car's capable of going fast is irrelevant. It's whether or not it meets the, it's actually speeding. Good morning, guys. On the 41, can you go below the speed limit? On the 41? 401. I'm assuming you're using text dictation, 401. The speed limit is the limit. It's not the minimum speed required. So could you do 90 on the 401? Yeah, it's just state of the right because some dumb is going to be doing 140. And that's the reality of it. State of the right for your safety and everyone else's because somebody's always going to be doing faster. Now, in traffic, which is most of the time in Toronto, no one's doing more than 30 or 40. So, it's certainly legal. Now, if everyone's doing 100 and you're doing 40 on the 401, that's unnecessary slow driving. Don't be on the road. You should not be there. That would be unnecessary driving, and we would charge you for it. What can we do to prevent motorcycles passing between cars during slow traffic? Dominic, don't even think about that. If they choose to do dumb stuff, it would be dumber to try and prevent them from doing it because A, you're going to cause a collision, you are going to be responsible, and they're going to be suing your insurance, even though they're doing something wrong. Trust me, it's not worth it. There's lots of people who want to like pinch the lane. As long as they don't touch your vehicle and they get through safely, just be aware of motorcycles. I got to start talking about motorcycles. But yeah, don't do anything because you're going to be seen as the aggressor in that situation. And listen, if they happen to hit you, they hit you, but it's not a good day for anybody. And sadly, they're the ones who are going to get really, really hurt, but don't get involved with it. Now, from the police perspective, we pull them over. We charge them with any number of charges, careless, stunt, or criminal dangerous. We have a question of what's the follow-up on the fatal wrong way vehicle pursuit. We were not involved in that. It's not a Toronto police event, although if you go back to the beginning of the show, there is a dialogue about when we do pursuits and why we do pursuits and so on. Tinsdale says it also means stricter enforcement over of 20. So yes, if we were to do, I'm not sure the context of the statement, Tinsdale, but if we raise the speed limits or when speed limits are raised, first of all, I think automated enforcement should be in place on every road, everywhere. If you do anything over the speed limit, I think you should get a ticket for it. There should be no allowable speeding. Because otherwise it's just a nice thing to talk about and it doesn't mean a thing if there's no enforcement to support it. So, Ronald Jardine says, is Doug Ford allowed to drive a car? I'm pretty sure he has a driver's license. I have never checked it or pulled him over, so I have no idea. But I've seen him driving on videos. I know radar detectors should be allowed. That's McLovin. No, they most certainly shouldn't. They're actually immoral. They're immoral. They allow dum-dums to go fast and believe that they're not going to get caught. So they drive more dangerously in areas where the detector doesn't beep, and then they slow down temporarily to avoid detection and consequence in areas where it does beep. And it just creates a culture of people trying and being emboldened to break the law. It just makes the roads more dangerous, and anyone who helps identify where police enforcement is taking place really should get their heads checked because they're in an indirect way putting lives at risk. I would say everyone who is speeding should get a ticket and should change their driving behavior to avoid further tickets. User who this is CA Toronto exclusive, says, thank you for this. You're welcome for this. I'm glad that we can do this and help people answer questions that they have about stuff and things. Let's see here. We got Josh reminding everybody to put a Q before the question, and that I appreciate that. I'm just looking to see here. Oh, cool. My appointment is on the way down. They have not gotten here, so I'll keep going until they get here or until my leg falls off, which is, I'm of course kidding because my leg is attached firmly, but it hurts a lot. I've got I'm dealing with some pain, as I hit my leg. Okay. What is this? Tent Buddies says, if I'm driving in HOV lane at posted speed limit and the people behind start tailgating, what to do? Drive at the speed limit. They can't go anywhere. They can't legally pass you. They're idiots if they do. And I mean that with love. The speed limit in the HOV is absolutely the speed limit. And even, in fact, you should be going slower than the speed limit if the traffic beside you is stopped or moving very slowly. Speed differential is actually the biggest problem in speeding. So if everyone's doing 0 and you're doing 100, when you make impact, it's 100. If you are all doing 100 and you make impact, the speed differential is effectively 0, and minor damage and injury is what happens. So if you are speeding at 100 past stopped vehicles, you are doing something that even a copper wouldn't do. When I'm doing lights and sirens, the effective speed differential that I want to avoid getting beyond is about 30 kilometers an hour for my safety and yours. Because we know that collisions that occur over 30 kilometers an hour could be very serious. I mean, there's times where we're going to increase that differential. We really have to articulate and justify why we're doing it because it's all about safety. And that's why Tinsdale says it's all about safety. But yeah, do what you do. If they want to get out of the HOV lane, which they probably have no business being in anyway, they can do that at the next, egress point, which is where the dotted lines are. But don't cross over the solids and don't speed for them. Don't let bullies win. That's what I like to say. The bullies can go bully themselves. Your friend, hello, love from the Philippines. Hello, thank you and for identifying yourself as today's longest distance viewer. If you are in fact in the Philippines right now, we've had viewers from all over the world, and it is always lovely to have a visitor from long distance. And the Philippines is one place I've yet to go. I really do want to visit your lovely country. Okay, what is this? Jake says, "Stop! They're not going to answer that." What is the question that I'm not going to answer? I don't know. Someone wants to know about tests. I don't know about that. Okay, we don't know about that. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Someone says that response times in the hood are bad. Response times in the city are bad. We don't have enough officers to respond efficiently. I think our 22 minutes is down to 19 minutes, which is an improvement, but I mean, does it make you feel better? It's minutes, but sometimes seconds count, right? And that's why we talk about and want more funding and more officers and less crime. It would be nice to have less crime. Ronald says, Canada's Wonderland opens on Friday. Awesome. I really am excited about that. My kids are going to be excited about that. We're going to have to go. Maybe I take Friday off and I take them to Wonderland. They're in school. Should I be a bad dad and go play on Friday instead of taking them? Why do they need to go to school? Hopefully their teachers aren't watching if I decide to say they're not feeling well. No, I would be honest. I'd be like, taking school off to go to Wonderland because I hate lines. Let's see here. Can I have a yellow light in the front of my car? Example, those BMWs with yellow driving lights. Yes, you can, Earl. The colors that are permitted to the front of the vehicle are yellow or white. You can have yellow headlights if you wanted to. Yellow fog lights are absolutely legal. To the rear has to be amber, which is yellow, or red, but no white light to the rear, except for your license plate light. Thoughts on police cars having illegal tint? I wonder where you are because I'm not aware of police cars having any illegal tint. We don't tint our fleet. We're not in it for looking awesome and cool. In Florida, I know I've seen super tinted cars. They're also baking in the sun all day, and I'm sure they have different laws on that. But here, there's no exemptions for illegal tint, not for police officers, so we don't have it. We don't tint anything. We don't put money into aesthetics. Cops pull over old junker. Is it cops' discretion that it is unsafe or by mechanical inspection required? It depends. Gross defect, holes in the floor, contact between body parts of the vehicle and tires. We are capable of making the determination ourselves. If the suspension's shot, we can make determinations on gross defect. We're not going to look at it and say, and actually, you don't even have to have an engine to get safety, unless things have changed recently. Under the old standards, the engine had nothing to do with the safety. It was all about other things. So, yeah, we can do it without a mechanical inspection because not all of us are mechanics. I will say that we do have some mechanics. We have police officers who either were formerly mechanics or maintain their mechanics license. Okay. Can I drive a car without a hood? And the answer is no. It depends. If it was a classic car that was built and didn't require a hood when it was manufactured, yes. If you have a modern vehicle with a hood, those hoods do a really good job of keeping pedestrians out of your engine compartment. Like if you were to hit one, you would cause more damage and injury. So it's my understanding that you do have to have it. I don't know why you'd want to take it off. Someone says driving a Civic without a hood. Yeah, no. What is this? Maybe this is a response about tinted windows. Maybe we're allowed to have them as an undercover cop car trying to catch people not knowing. If it's an undercover car and we're actually posing as not a police car, we're allowed to do some we're actually allowed to pretend we're not police. But you wouldn't have a uniformed car with tinted windows. An undercover car you would not know is an undercover because it would be a surveillance vehicle trying to blend in, and it may very well be breaking the law. But, there are guys buying drugs, and that's not legal. They're going out and infiltrating illegal organizations, doing things that they're allowed to break certain laws for the purposes of, getting in with the bad folk. Do you need a license plate on the front of your vehicle or just the back? If you are an Ontario licensed vehicle, you are responsible for displaying 2 plates, one on the front, one on the back, in a conspicuous place as per regulation. So that means at the very front. So it's your bumper, your grille, the mounting point that was designed, a tow hook adapter for the front. In the back, it has to be illuminated by a minimum of 3 lumens bulb at night. And so there are places where you have to put it. You can't put it in front of the windshield. You can't simply not put it at all. DW's asks the question, can I challenge a ticket just so I can see the evidence? You have that right. Is it a waste of time, court, taxpayers' money? Yeah, it's a total waste. But if you believe that you're innocent, I think you should challenge it. But bring evidence to support that you're innocent. If you are knowing that you are guilty, please don't waste the court's time. It's wrong. We don't want to pay more taxes. You're just burning money. But it's your right to. You have the ability to. You can certainly ask for disclosure, but you must request disclosure. It doesn't just come to you by virtue of saying you want a court date. And once you're into the trial game, you're in the trial game. What do we got here? Okay, some dialogue between, can I drive my 3,000 horsepower car? Yeah, there's no restriction to horsepower. It's what you do with that horsepower that is restricted. What is the court fee for fighting a traffic ticket? There's no fee for fighting a traffic ticket. You go fight it. You do have that right. You do end up taking time off work to go do it. I'm assuming it's going to cost you time, travel. I mean, you might be able to do it online. I don't know. Depends on if they're still doing in court or remote. But you could also have a first appearance with the prosecutor, and you might be able to get a lot of that done with the first appearance and not actually waste the court. Still wasting time, but it's less wasting. What is this? Don't know what they're talking about. Michigan. What are we talking about, Michigan? How do you confront a cop that says you were reaching the speed limit when you're not? What do you mean? If you're reaching the speed limit, you're reaching the speed limit. You're legal. Why were you confronting anybody for that? You're just driving. Speed limit's like you're legal if you're at the speed limit. If you mean, Mr. Nesh, that someone's saying you're speeding, and they say you're speeding and you say, but I'm not speeding, well, then you have something that you have to go to court. So if you get a ticket for speeding and you say you're innocent, challenge it in court. You get to see the evidence. If you go to trial, you'll hear the officer testify, but any notes that are made in relation to that ticket will be disclosed if you request disclosure. Video of the occurrence, if recorded, will be there. There you go. Why don't you allow car meetings? Car meetings sound like fun. What kind of car meetings are you talking about? Car meets? Car meets where people are tend to get involved with some criminal or at least illegal activity. They're not allowed. In New York region at all, they've got major fines. We don't have bylaws like that. We're not inviting that kind of behavior, and we do charge people for driving illegally. If you are getting behind the wheel of a car, if you are doing burnouts and drifting and carrying on in a dangerous way, we will charge you here. We'll charge you there. We'll charge you everywhere. In a tree. Anyway, I'm getting into my Dr. Zeus. Candice Blanchette says, should the police called off the pursuit? This is in relation to an event. I don't know the details of what happened. I do know they were going wrong way on the highway, and that would be a situation where it is of grave danger to everyone. And obviously, we saw a terrible outcome. I couldn't say. That is being investigated, so I'm not going to weigh in. Other than someone going the wrong way is a situation where we're going to try and stop them. It's not one where we just say, just let them do their own thing silently on the highway. Actually, we went into great detail of this. If you want to go back to the beginning of the episode on YouTube, you can go back and watch it. And Sarge, I think, put it very eloquently. Do you need car seats for kids when you use a taxi or Uber? Depends. Well, yes and no. No and yes. You don't need them for a taxi. You do need them for an Uber. So this is when you have an infant or a child that requires a child safety restraint in order to be in the car. You must have it for an Uber because they're just a civilian car that's allowing rideshare. There's special rules for buses and taxis. They don't require them. And people say, well, why? Well, it's less safe. We acknowledge it's less safe. But let's say you were somebody that was walking and it started raining and you had a baby with you, or you needed to get out of a situation because there was an abusive situation and you didn't drive. And we're not going to let you take a taxi because we're going to say you stay in that situation where it's unsafe. No, there's exceptions for public vehicles. That's public for those particular vehicles because they're used by the public. And yeah. How do you confront a cop when they initiate a biased violation? I don't know what a biased violation is. If you don't confront cops, though. I will suggest that you deal with the situation, you are polite, and then you go, and if you think there's a violation against you that was inappropriate or illegal, go and make a report. You have the OIPRD, you have their supervisor, you have all sorts of avenues to report things. Do not confront police officers. It tends to escalate things. If there's a communication issue, you might find yourself, and I'm not saying you can't talk to them. I'm not saying you can't say you didn't do it, but confronting suggests an escalation where things might be more aggressive. Just me reading into the language. And I could be wrong, but hey, take your ticket, report, challenge, do what you want, but don't fight at the side of the road. Don't yell, scream, or escalate. Tends not to go well for you. Somebody here suggests you waste time and money of the courts as possible. Slutty mac and cheese. Really? Wasting courts' time and money is wasting the public's money, right? It's government money, which means it's people's tax money, which means they raise taxes when you. Why? Just don't break the law. Like, really, if you got a ticket, it's because you did something. If you didn't get a ticket, you didn't do something, and you wouldn't be in the situation you're in. Why would you want to waste the money? But just so silly. Let's see here. Someone says, is there any statute? I don't know what we're talking about. I have not heard about a Central Park thing, but I'm sure it would be interesting. Can I call video driving home? Video calls are not legal. You cannot be on a video call while driving a car or an automobile, a motor vehicle. Not allowed. It's a cell phone ticket. It's a distracted driving ticket. It's an obvious ticket. I've stopped lots of people for it. It's amazing how many people think it's okay. I'm just on the phone. No, you're on a video call. The screen is visible. You're watching something. What is this? Do we have to stay in live lanes when in a collision or move to a lot and keep traffic flowing? If your vehicles are drivable, if there are no severe injuries and you're capable of getting off the road to a place of safety, get off the road. You know, you can call police and ask for direction, but if you're in the middle of a highway, an expressway, a high-speed road, you're in a risky position. I would very safely and get off the road first to the side and possibly move off to the highway altogether if you're concerned that. But the big thing is very often these collisions are of a much more serious nature, and high-speed collisions tend to make vehicles not drivable, at which point stay in your vehicle if it's safe to do so. Because you could be having, if you have a vehicle fire, obviously you're going to get out, but you may not be able to due to injury. And the safest place in the vehicle, if there's no fire risk, is in the vehicle, seatbelted. How much time roughly do police spend in court defending their tickets? I have no idea. I don't know what the stats are. In Toronto, we're off duty for those things. We're paid to come into court on our days off to testify, because we don't have the ability of getting off. We're so busy, we can't get off the road to come to these things. So we're going to schedule that for our days off and come in and testify then. So it's a different clock altogether. Is there a range regarding the accuracy of speedometers? Different speedometers and different technologies may be more or less accurate at certain speeds, but it's irrelevant because usually they're calibrated to underreport your speed. If you're doing 100, you're probably doing 98. That doesn't say you should do 102 to be 100. It just means you should just travel at or below the speed limit. But you are responsible for the actual speed. So if your vehicle was reporting 100, but you were doing 105, and if you got a ticket for 105, that would be a legitimate ticket. Is there any statute of limitations before a traffic ticket must be heard before a JP? It used to be, I think it used to be about a year before you could apply for an 11B, maybe 18 months before 11B. You're entitled to a reasonable speed of trial. But that said, there are delays that are permissible, and there are things that you could do to make it longer, where you take the onus of extending it. Let's say you show up to court after a year and you say, Your Honor, Your Worship, I'm unprepared today. I cannot proceed. I'd like to extend it. Well, you're making the request. That 11B situation where you'd be able to throw out the ticket is gone because you extended it. It wasn't because of our fault. I would suggest you go to TrafficCop.ca, and on TrafficCop.ca you can find a link to the Ontario Guide to POA Court. I have a link there for it, and you will understand, or it'll explain to you what the story is, because there's things to know. Can I ride a 100cc bike on the sidewalk? Heck no. South Shore, Danny, I don't know where you are, but South Shore sounds like you're not where I am. If you're in Ontario, that's absolutely not permissible. You can't even ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. So a 100cc bike is a street bike. Dirt bikes aren't allowed on the street. If it's a dirt bike, that's not allowed. And just yesterday when I went for lunch, I saw some jerk. I'm going to use jerk. He might not be a jerk. He might be a nice guy. But he was riding a off-road dirt bike without a helmet on the road. Yeah. Big guy on a little tiny kid's motorcycle. And it was a motorcycle, and I would have charged him for everything under the sun if I was only in a police car with lights and sirens to deal with it. But I was not impressed. What do we got here? Is it illegal to have a police radar, like a device that's capable of reading speed? You can buy them for sports purposes. Radar is radar. It's not police, not police, but it's not illegal to own that equipment. Tim Shallow, good morning to you. And Slutty Mac and Cheese says, so a ticket is proof of guilt. Come on, man. A ticket is an allegation. It's not proof of guilt. I'm going to testify to it. But if you know you're guilty, why not be a grown-up and take responsibility for your actions? That you certainly were responsible enough or irresponsible enough to do the thing that got you the ticket. If you really believe you're innocent, by all means, it's your right to defend yourself. I'm going to come with my evidence if I'm the person who writes you the ticket, and I'm going to testify. And you might win, you might lose. You know, it's not up to me, and I don't really care at that point, right? Like whether I've done my job by recording the events. Whether you manage to squeak through on a technicality or you are found innocent because you found some fault, I'm not going to lose sleep. But I think it's wrong to waste taxpayer money. And I'm also of the opinion it's wrong to break the law in the first place. Kids' bicycles, not adults. So in Toronto, in bylaw, I think we're talking about sidewalks. Children under the age of 14 can ride on the sidewalk. That is all. Anyone over 14 or 14 and over cannot ride on the sidewalk. It used to be based on diameter of the tire and that or wheel diameter. That's no longer the case. It changed, and every jurisdiction is going to be different. South Shore Danny, whoever is picking the questions, pick mine already. I see everyone being answered. It's all chronological. I'm just going through one by one. And then they asked it again. So a 100cc mini bike is not a roadworthy bicycle. Is not a roadworthy motorcycle. You would need to be licensed, insured, permitted with a plate. And there are some small mini-ish style scootery devices that are legal and can be licensed, but mini bikes generally are off-road only and they cannot be on the road. Let's see here. We talked about John's question. You're asking this almost an hour since you asked the last question. But no, we don't take them to the police station. I mean, they can be charged, but we don't incarcerate someone for that or lock them up. Is the parking free on a motorcycle in Toronto? In the Green Pea street parking, yes. On parking lots, no. That's JP Cruz C who asked that question. If you can't have a video call or can't see the phone screen on, then how about Uber drivers use it? Uber cannot use their phones. They cannot touch their devices. They cannot interact to accept calls, not legally, unless you're legally parked in a legal parking spot without, you cannot be in gear. You cannot be. Here's the easy way. If you can get out of the car where you are and legally leave your car there in a legal parking spot, then you can use your phone and interact with the screen. As soon as an Uber driver or a driver is driving, not parked legally, they cannot use their phone unless they're on private property. Then there's no control there. Let's see here. McChangas? Is that what this is? McHangas? How comes police sometimes don't pull you over for going over the speed limit, but sometimes do? Depends on what they're doing. Just because I'm on the road and just because I see someone speeding doesn't mean I'm in a position to respond to a call or respond to that issue. I might be on my way with a prisoner on board to go, put them into a cell and have them paraded before the courts. I might be going to go pick up evidence. I might be doing one of a million things. Policing is not just traffic. Traffic's important, but it's not just traffic. And we have people who have all sorts of responsibilities and can't stop those responsibilities just because they see someone speeding. I wish we could all do it, but enforcement, any kind of police work, enforcement included, takes time. I pull you over, it's 20 minutes, a half an hour sometimes, because now I'm doing an investigation. It's not just giving you a ticket. I'm researching who you are. I'm ensuring that you have a license, that you're insured. Before I'm letting you go, now that I've touched your situation, I'm now responsible to some degree for what I'm doing, and I'm going to make sure that it's the most complete investigation possible. Okay, we talked about Toronto road cams. Somebody else ask it? Street parking he answered, in legal spots. And Greenpeace specifically, not parking lots. What do you say about e-bikes driving in the fast lane? This is one of the problems here in PH. E-bikes? Well, e-bikes should be maximum 32 kilometers an hour. If they're anywhere else and they're impeding traffic, they should be dealt with accordingly. You have to stay to the right side of the road. In Ontario, I don't know what the rules are where you are. Is it more dangerous to be a Toronto police officer than a Niagara police officer? I don't know. I don't know what the crime situation is like in Niagara. I don't know what it's like to police there. Is it dangerous to be a police officer? In general, it is dangerous. You're running two calls where danger is likely to occur or is occurring for somebody else, and we are putting ourselves in a situation to stop or interfere and end that danger. It's certainly dangerous. We've had police officers die recently. Two of them that I knew, they were friendly with. So it's dangerous. We know that we're going to go to work. We don't know when we're coming home or if we're coming home. Every time we say goodbye to our family might be for the last time. So it is dangerous as a career, but is one more dangerous than the other? I couldn't say. Kevin doesn't like the OPP, noted. Don't know about that. Is the tint illegal? Is the tint? Tint can be legal. It can be illegal. Depends. I was just going to ask you about dirt bikes. So they aren't allowed on the road. Dirt bikes are not allowed on the road on Ontario, even in areas that allow ATVs to be on the road. Dirt bikes are prohibited from road use, period. I was stopped for doing 110 kilometers in 100 kilometer. I was stopped for doing 110 kilometers in 100 kilometer an hour zone. My GPS said I was doing 102. The court squashed it. That is up to the court. If you were stopped for doing 110 in 100 zone, you could very easily have been convicted. It depends on a million things. Like, did the officer testify well? Did you testify well? Were they just being nice? It's their prerogative. The courts are not our concern. Can you ride an electric bike on the sidewalk? No, you cannot. Not in Toronto. You cannot ride an adult cannot ride a bike on the sidewalk. You cannot e-bikes are 16 years and older to ride, period, in Ontario. And no one in the city of Toronto can ride on the sidewalk if they're if they're 14 or older, you cannot be on the sidewalk. So by virtue of those two things, you can't. Canadian Ape, haven't spoken to you in a while. How are you doing? Is it legal to make a left turn over a double yellow line? I keep seeing people saying it's not. It is absolutely legal. Double yellow line is a suggestion based on visibility, suggesting you shouldn't pass, but those double lines or single lines, regardless of color, are not enforceable lines. That said, if you were to make that turn and cause a collision, you're still responsible for causing the collision. The line, there is no charge for the line. Interesting. So, Michelle Gordon-Kuma asks, insurance different address than my license because one of my property needs my license to be address. That's a roundabout way. Depends if you disclose what's going on to your insurance company. If your vehicle, this is a private situation with a private company, an agreement with a private company. It could be considered insurance fraud. So if you have a property that has an area that has a very low collision rate and you get a better rate because of it, but you don't live there, then you may find yourself getting charged with fraud because you're defrauding the company from paying the rates that you're supposed to be paying based on where you actually live. That becomes an issue. It's not a police issue until they lodge a complaint of fraud. We have one of them on my street circling around the neighborhood, and it's loud and annoying. I'm assuming you mean mini bikes? Yeah, they're terribly loud and annoying, and I can't stand them, even though I like dirt biking on dirt bike places where dirt bikes are expected. Biggest Wang in town says, can you come to Next Cars and Coffee and say hi? When is the next Cars and Coffee? Send me go to TrafficCop.ca, use the forum to send me a message. Let me know what the details are. If I can, I will. I'd love to come to events. I do go to events. I'm going to a Porsche event coming up soon. I was invited to one of those, so I will absolutely stop by. I'd love to come. I'm a car guy. I'm a car and motorcycle guy. I always have been. And as long as there's no illegal activity there, we'll have no problem. But if you invite me to an event and then suddenly there's illegal activity, expect me to call my friends. I'm just putting the warning out there. So it's an invitation that, if I take it up, it could be bad for those who attend and do bad things. I'm always a cop, 24/7. Windshield tint laws from Uncle Peru. You cannot have a tint window. What do you do? You cannot have windshield tint in Ontario. Some provinces allow it. However, we do not. It is an unsafe motor vehicle. Once you tint the windshield, you can lose your license plates for it or be forced to, I shouldn't say forced. You could be given the option to remove the tint roadside to avoid requiring a tow to your next destination. That's the nice way of saying it. Okay. I've gone overtime today. Look at this. My podcast is late. That's the reason. Is it illegal to have magnetic trailer lights on your car if your tail lights don't work? Well, you have to have tail lights. But taillights, like when you say magnetic trailer lights, are they functional? Are they functioning with your vehicle when you depress the brakes? They activate? Because you can get those for tow situations. And as long as your vehicle has brake lights, whether they're magnetically attached or not, they're functioning. I can't see an issue with that. This is a question I think about riding on the sidewalk. What if you aren't a great bike rider or scared to ride with cars? Don't ride on the road or sidewalk if you're scared to be there. Learn to ride in park areas, parking lots. Develop your skills as a rider before you start traversing traffic because you're going to get hurt. You're going to cause a collision and you're going to be the one who's hurt because you're a vulnerable road user. You can't expect them to keep you safe, and you can't go on the sidewalk as a way of avoiding. And if you're a bad rider, you're probably going to be putting, aside from the fact that it's illegal, you're going to be putting pedestrians at risk. That's why we don't want you on the sidewalk to begin with. Can you transport a child for medical emergencies without a car seat if you can't wait for an ambulance? Jen, I'm going to tell you that people are going to do whatever they're going to do and hope and pray that they make it there. If you were to be involved in a collision on the way there, it's very, very high chance that child won't make it to be saved because you put them in an even greater risk. I would suggest that if you cannot wait for an ambulance, you call the ambulance and you get direction whilst on the phone. I would also strongly suggest taking first aid training. Take first aid. Everyone, please take first aid training. It could be the difference between saving a life, whether it be your own or another, someone you care about. Very often what you need to do is buy time. You need to buy time to allow emergency vehicles to get to you. And here's the thing. An ambulance is not a bus. It is not simply a drive to the hospital. And people don't realize that people, when being transported on their own, when people just trying to get there, aside from the potential of a collision, may not make it because the advanced life support that is going to be provided, the treatment that will be provided en route, is really what an ambulance is for. It's not patient transfer. It is people who are trained and capable of doing more than the average, more than a first aider. They're going to be doing life-saving techniques, utilizing drugs under the direction of medical doctors. They're going to do stuff and very often, I mean, listen, I'm a dad, I get it. And to say that I wouldn't break everything to save my kid in a situation would be lying. But I would do it as much and as safely as possible with as much direction as possible whilst losing my mind, because that panicking parent, I get it. But you do what you got to do, and if it goes wrong, you're responsible. And think about this. What if you did something with all the intentions in the world of saving your child while you're in the scariest moments of your life? Because I'd give my life for my kid, hands down, no questions. I've lived a long life. I'm good. If I could save theirs, they can have it. But if you caused it, where there was a chance of them being saved, but because of your actions, they died, I don't know how anyone survives that. So You do what you got to do, but you do it as safely as you can. And I would suggest waiting for an ambulance. If we pull you over while you're doing something, yeah, you might get charged, but we're also not going to let you leave. You're not going to continue driving without that car seat, without putting some, we're going to start doing first aid. We're going to call an ambulance to have them meet us at the side of the road. Like, if things were to go badly, if we saw you with that child, we're not going to, just let it go. Jay Daddy, you're incorrect. The police did not do that. You're absolutely incorrect. Somebody who was breaking the law did that. I'm not even going to acknowledge it beyond that. Let's see here. Regional races at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park this weekend. Want to come? Paul, I appreciate the invitation. We've got to connect. You gave me information to give you a call, and I haven't had a chance to. This weekend is not a good weekend for me. It's the police memorial. I think, and I'll talk about this more on Friday, but this weekend is the Ontario Police Memorial. It is a really important event, something that is incredibly near and dear to my heart. Police officers and their families pay the ultimate sacrifice. Police officers might get killed in the line of duty, but they leave behind families that forever have a void that can never be filled. It's just they pay the price every single day. The police officer paid the price with their life once, but their family pay every single day and suffer the absence of that loved one. So I'll be at the police memorial on Sunday. But I do love the idea of coming to visit at the track someday, and I'm sure one day I will. Now, we got lots of events coming up in the city where we'll have opportunities to meet up. Like, my plan is to be at Honda Indy, which reminds me I got to respond to an email today because I have a contract that needs to be signed. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. But always feel free to, anyone who's watching, if you have an event that you want me to come to, if I can go, I'd love to go and make an appearance and say hello. I am a pretty approachable guy. Okay. Stephanie, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Let's see here. What is this? Are you done duties on the road now? No more patrolling? If so, why? VW Jetta. So I was in the motor squad. I got hit by a car when I was on my motorcycle returning to the station. As a result, I have injuries, and they're injuries that have, although I'm a lot better than I was after the collision, have left long-lasting issues. I look like this now. No, I have issues that prevent me from going on the road. I don't do the patrol. I miss it terribly. I wish I could go back on the road, honestly. There's so much that I'd like to do. So many tickets I've yet to write, and I can't. Although every year I review and I try and go back, but I'm yet to be authorized. So until I am, I'm here. And I'm having a lot of fun here. I'm able to contribute to doing and helping people, which is it's not the way I wanted to do it. It wasn't how I never envisioned myself as the social media guy. But I will say this: I'm helping more people per day doing this. And over the last 3 years or more being on social media, I'm able to help thousands and thousands of people all the time, creating an archive of information that might just help people slow down and save lives. Whereas when I was picking people off one at a time on the road for what they did, I maybe saved lives, but I impacted one driver in here. I mean, we've got 90 plus people on these platforms. If I go over here, I don't see how many people we have live, but we've had 2,600 views. 2,646. By the way, I know we're still here, and I'm going to be going offline soon. But share the live and follow us if you don't already follow us, because having more people access our account and get the information really does help educate. That's all we're here for, is to help you. It's all about helping you. And ultimately, if I change behavior, if I change your behavior by giving information, maybe someone wins. They don't get hurt. They don't get killed. They don't have families or neighborhoods and communities, destroyed by a senseless death. And thank you, Greg, for responding to let them know. I just noticed that other people answered on my behalf, of letting them know what happened to me. Can wheels extend beyond the body of a car? They're not supposed to. They do all the time. Do we stop and charge people? Absolutely. Improper tires, having the width of a vehicle beyond that of what's permitted. There are charges for unsafe vehicle. There are charges for not having mud flaps or fenders. They're not legal, and they look silly. frankly. I mean, they look cool on off-road cars, but those off-road cars should not be on the road. Do we focus on that? No, it's probably going to be something else you did that caused you to be pulled over, and then you get a ticket for both, because we are so focused on the behavior that leads to serious injury and death. It takes a priority over tires. But if we see it, very often you get pulled over for it. Tesla electric vehicle with personalized Ontario blue plate. Can it be driven in the HOV lanes? No. Technically, the plate is what gives you authority to use those lanes. So if you are driving with blue plates, you have given up your green card, quite literally, to get into those lanes, and you could be charged. Would you be charged? Are we looking for blue plates over green? First of all, I'm not with the OPP. I'm with the Toronto Police. We're the city unit. We're the city municipal police, and although it's not our jurisdiction, we do have the ability of writing those tickets. What the OPP chooses to do may be entirely different, but it is not lawful to have a blue plate in that lane. Russ Daniel says, apparently 5K can buy a license in Brampton. Dude was on the news saying this. I've seen some undercover views where people go into where the news went in and investigated a driving school who was going to give you credit for having taken the course without. There are unscrupulous criminal pieces of excrement who do things and are willing to allow money to bend, or maybe they're just void of morals in the first place. But the deal is that I'm sure it happens in all areas. People buying things and not doing the right thing. That's disgusting, though. If people are getting licenses without having actually earned it and aren't safe drivers and tested, it's disgusting. So hope we find them and charge them, put them out of business. If you just got your license suspended, can you drive your car home? No. If you're suspended, you're suspended. Now, very often when you're suspended, it's because we impounded your vehicle at the same time, so you have no car to drive home. Taxi is the way to go. Tow truck sometimes. If you weren't having your vehicle impounded, tow truck will give you a ride home usually, or taxi. Let's see here. Can I drive with closed alcohol in the car if I'm underage? If it's sealed alcohol, factory sealed, you had a bottle of wine, it's original cork in it, it's never been broken, it's in the trunk in a closed material, yeah, then you could transport that. You can't buy alcohol, but it doesn't mean you can't have it in the vehicle. If it's open, it's been open and you closed it, that's not legal. You can't have that. What is this? Mr. Nesh has lots of interesting questions. I'm done with your questions. Now you want to know stuff that's just ridiculous. Okay. Do I need an M license for a 100cc mini bike? M license is for a motorcycle. Mini bikes are not generally licensable. They are not roadworthy devices. So an M license wouldn't help you with a mini bike because a mini bike is not allowed on the road. Toronto road cams jumping on that whole green plate, blue plate thing. You're absolutely right. Best advice. How badly do you need I have a vanity plate on a motorcycle. I generally don't want to be notified or identified, generally. Okay. How far can wheels exceed? They're not supposed to exceed, so they shouldn't exceed. I've been told from some mechanics they consider it a quarter of an inch. I've seen, though, a foot. Obviously, I saw it just before I wrote a ticket for it, but that's another story. Can I apply to anything in the TPS as a 19-year-old student? Well, if you're a student, finish your education. If you're looking to leave being a student to become an anything other than a student, then you can apply. We don't have part-time jobs, though. We have full-time jobs. So as a university student, and if you could transfer to become a part-time university student, you could possibly do it. There's lots of jobs you can do at 19 with the police service. Absolutely. Check it out, www.tps.ca/careers. We talked about that. Interesting question from Vandy. Are speed cameras going to be more common around Toronto? Are they effective? They're very effective. They do reduce the speeds in areas where they are deployed. They are currently only legal to be put in places where they're community safety zones, but they would make fantastic. They'd make fantastic change in any place. So there's discussion of doing all sorts of different types of enforcement with them. But it's not happening yet. Right now, it's community safety zones, red light cameras, and speed cameras, and that's it. But I do hope to see a day when every road gets it. That's my sincere hope. What happens if someone hits a car in a parking lot and runs? Well, it's a fail to remain collision. You're responsible under the law to exchange information and make efforts to ensure people are okay. Failing to remain is a charge that we can pursue off the property. Funny thing is, if people hit another car on property and wait and disclose, there's no charges to lay on private property unless it was stunt driving related. We talked about that. Talked about this. James, does Toronto Police have SWAT? So SWAT is an acronym for Special Weapons and Tactics. We have the ETF, the Emergency Task Force. It is the same or similar thing. I was just there yesterday. I was at their office, and I got a tour of the building with the fine gentleman from Australia, and they're a class act. They're good guys. And my buddy Joey, if you're listening, shout out to you. He works there now. He used to work at Traffic Services, and he went out to work at the ETF. And it was a nice visit. It was a really nice visit. Okay, but yeah, we do have the equivalent. Very cool toys they have, man. Wow. I just a lot of respect for the work they do. They're a class act. Okay. How do you report someone who's planning to drive with a suspended license? Planning, there's nothing to report yet. But that said, you can always call Crime Stoppers. You can report them. You can do a report on tps.ca for a driving complaint for a specific vehicle if you wanted to. It's not truly a driving complaint, because it's like future crime. They said they're going to do it. Yeah, I mean, you can make a report. We can't go and give them a ticket for it until they do it. But, it's good to know. Are friends allowed to drive my car? Depends. Are they good friends? Here's the deal. You can lend your vehicle, if it's insured, to any licensed driver that has a license that covers the class of vehicle that you have. So if it's a vehicle that requires a G-class license, then you can lend it to somebody. Just know that you're also lending your insurance, and if they crash up your car or go through a red light and get caught on a red light camera, you get the ticket. You're responsible. Your rates go up, not for the ticket, but for the crash. Bad day at the office. I would not want to lend my vehicle around unless you really, 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 really trust that person. And there's not many people I trust enough to give them my car. I rely on it. Good morning from Orlando, Florida, from Ricky Miller, 247. Howdy doody. I miss Orlando. Was there in December, I think. And I can't wait to come back. A big fan of Orlando. We're a big Disney family. I wouldn't mind moving back. I lived in Fort Lauderdale for 5 years. I'd like to come back. And Orlando is one of those places that I could consider living in, a retirement location. Just saying. Need to go to get a Disney fix. Are you ever too old for Disney? That's a question. A question that I have not an answer for. Not yet. A little disappointed. I was talking about this morning. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get to go to the Disney hotel experience, that ridiculously overpriced and very cool looking hotel. That is no more, as far as I know. Talked about this. Scrolling. What's the law on using your turn signal? So what's the deal? What's the law with using a turn signal under the impression that it's required by law? It's required to signal the intention to move your vehicle if it could affect anybody else on the road, another vehicle, a pedestrian, a cyclist, anybody else on the road. So the answer is you should always use it. But if no one was around, well then no, it's technically not required. But if it affects anybody else or could affect anybody else, it is required. So rather than using it conditionally, just use it all the time. Because guess what? If you get a ticket for it, someone was there and you didn't realize. All right. Scrolling. What is my eye is bugging me. Probably shouldn't be sticking my finger in it, but anyway. What's the most recurring incidents or violations of the roads you see on the roads today? The most prevalent are by far the most serious: speeding and distracted driving, general aggressive driving. People are so important, more important than everybody else. Just ask them. And if they don't want to admit to it, just watch them drive, and it's very clear that they think very highly of themselves, and they just can't, leave 5 minutes early so they can slow down. But that's another story. In any case, speeding and distracted driving are probably the most prevalent, and they certainly are the ones we impact or write the most tickets for. And we talked about this. These are duplicate answers or questions, I should say. There's a lot of duplication. And I've already talked about this stuff earlier, so I guess they just were impatient, asked it twice. All right. With that, I am going to say it's time to listen to a song and say goodbye. There's a dad joke that hopefully is still in the system. Here we go. Here we go. Dad joke. All right. My wife wanted to brighten up the garden, so I planted some bulbs. I like that. I quite like that. And this, what is this one? This is punk rock. I don't think I listened to this one. I did Ticket Tango. I want to find the, where'd it go? Here, okay, I'm going to find it real quick. It's the rock version of, I'll play both. This is, where is it? This is the traffic song. I love it. It's performed by a police officer right here.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get freed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Come on, where is this? I'm convinced that I'm going to find it. One second here. I could swear that I put it. Is this here? No, this is not. Come on. Recently added. Not there. I think I sent it to her in a text. Come on. I'll try one more thing. That's not it. Oh, I should probably put the volume up.
It's plain you see.
That's not the one. Bear with me if you want. Otherwise, hang out if you want. Don't hang out if you don't want. But I am looking for the song. How did I? Okay. Is this it? Here. How do I not? Traffic song remix. Okay. Let me search that again. Traffic song remix. What folder did I put it into? Here, I found it.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. Watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed. You might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Okay. I love the rock version. I like the original. I love their remix. It's just so cool. That was AI. I took the lyrics, I typed them in, I hit go, and they gave me a couple versions, and that one was awesome. Hope you like it. Question was, can I lock my bicycle to a fire hydrant if there's nowhere else to lock it? No, you can't lock it to a fire hydrant. That's ridiculous. And you deserve to lose it, if you, quite frankly. The fire department would cut it off, I imagine. How does a peace officer demand for a roadside breathalyzer in Canada? We read the demand from our books. So there's two ways to go. There's mandatory alcohol screening. So regardless of whether or not there's two different avenues. One, we have the belief that we suspect that there's alcohol in your blood. We make a demand. You have to comply to it. If you say no, you're charged with the same offense. Or you're charged with an offense for refuse, which has the same consequences as if you would have failed. Equally, if you have no signs, if we have no suspicion, but we're employing mandatory alcohol screening, that means that even in the absence of suspicion, we can make the demand and you must comply or have the same consequences as though you had failed. Also, Galactic Star Cruiser. Akela is reminding, I think that's what it's called, the Galactic Star Cruiser. So I really wish I went. I just didn't have a spare 10 grand because that's essentially what this weekend at the hotel would have cost. Lottery. I need the lottery. All right. We're saying goodbye. If you're going to drive sober. If you're going to park legally. And of course, smile because it looks good on you. I will not be here tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday because that's the plan. So have a wonderful day and a night and a day and a night, and we'll see you Friday.